Hi there! Today we're going to use Photoshop to place a dancer on a dance floor. We have a dancer from one photo and a separate photo with the dance floor, so we'll be combining the two photos to create our own image. We'll learn how to do selections to move an item from one image onto a different background. We'll be using this dancer in this dance floor, but the concept of using the selection tool in Photoshop to move part of one image onto another image can be applied in lots of different projects. Make sure you've downloaded the two images attached to this course. Then let's open up Photoshop and get started. Here we are in Photoshop. We are going to go to File, Open, and find the two photos we just downloaded. We'll open up the dance floor photo in the first tab. And then we'll open up the dancer photo next. We now have two tabs in Photoshop, one for each photo. For this project, we are going to start with the dancer photo so that we can select this dancer and copy him onto the dance floor. We'll be using the Quick Selection tool. It's over here on the left. If you don't see this icon, try clicking and holding on the icons that you do see. This shows additional tools hidden beneath the tools that you are already seeing. Once you have the Quick Selection tool, double check on the top toolbar that you currently have the plus sign selected. This means that whatever you click on your image will be added to your selection. The minus option subtracts what you click from your selection. Now that we have our Quick Selection tool ready to go, we'll start clicking on the dancer that we want to select. Click once and you'll see that Photoshop tries to guess how much you wish to select. You can change your brush size to click on smaller or larger areas. Keep clicking in different areas of the dancer until you have most of the dancer selected. You can do a pretty good job with the Quick Select tool, especially on a photo like this, where the background doesn't have a lot in it, and the item we are selecting doesn't share a lot of colors with the background. This makes it easy for Photoshop to tell what you are trying to select. If you have a photo with a lot going on in the background, it will take a little extra work to do this step. So we just used the Quick Selection tool, which is one way to make selections in Photoshop. Since this photo has such a clear background, I'm also going to show you a different selection tool that works great for photos like this. It's under the Select menu at the top. First, we'll click Deselect to undo the selection we have and start from scratch. Next, we'll go back to the Select menu and choose Select Subject. Either Subject or Focus Area would work well for this photo, but we're going to use Subject for ours. Photoshop will think for a bit and then show us a selection. It looks like Photoshop did a really good job selecting what we wanted, but it's a little hard to tell with this background. To check and fine-tune the selection, we are going to click Select and Mask at the top bar. Masking allows us to better see our selection and allows us to work on some of the smaller details more clearly. There are a few different view modes on the right menu. You can choose whichever one works best for your image. I'm going to choose on black for this image, and I'm going to increase the opacity of the mask so that I can really see the contrast. For this detail work, I'm going to be zooming in and out. You can do this from the View menu. You'll see that we have zoom in and zoom out, and you can also see what keyboard shortcuts are assigned to zoom in and zoom out. For PC, hitting the Control and plus sign will zoom in, while clicking Control and minus will zoom out. We have some different selection tools on the upper left sidebar. Since we are doing detail work, we want to use the most precise tool. This second one down is going to select individual points as we click on them, so that's the tool we want to use. I can see that I have some extra stuff selected near this shoe. I'm going to make sure I have the minus action for my selection tool, and then I'm going to click on the area near the shoe that I want to remove from my selection. You may need to change your brush size to be larger or smaller. You can change this from the top menu as well. I'm going to clean up a few other areas of the selection, like the bottom of this jacket and the top of the shoe. Remember to switch to the plus sign to add areas to your selection and the minus sign to remove areas. Now let's scroll over to the other shoe. You can see that a large part of this shoe is missed by our Select Subject tool. That's because it is very bright white and blends in a bit with the photo's bright white background. Since it's a larger area, I'm going to increase my brush size and then drag my brush over the shoe. I'll decrease my brush size when I get to the edges. Note that I'm using a keyboard shortcut of clicking the right and left square bracket to change my brush size, but you can also do this from the top menu. Now we're going to move around the photo and find any other areas that need some touching up, like the space between the fingers that need to be removed. You'll need a small brush size and the minus action to remove this. Remember to zoom in and out using the View menu or your keyboard shortcuts. And remember to switch your action for your brush whenever you need to switch between adding or removing pieces. Once you are happy with your selection, click OK. This will take you out of the Select and Mask window, and you can see your selection in the photo. We want to copy what we've selected and put it on its own layer. To copy your selection, go to Edit, Copy, or use the keyboard shortcut which you can see next to the copy action in this menu. Then, on the bottom right in your Layers box, you are going to click the plus icon to add a new layer. With the new layer selected, go to Edit, Paste, or use the keyboard shortcut for the paste action. Once we've pasted our selection onto the new layer, we are going to click the eyeball toggle to turn the original layer off. Our original layer is currently called Background. Click the eyeball next to the background layer so that it is no longer showing. You can play around with toggling this on and off to see the difference. Remember that we pasted the dancer onto the new layer, but we did not remove the dancer from the background layer. You can see this clearly by using the Move tool to move the dancer around on our new layer. Make sure you have clicked on the new layer so that you have the new layer selected. Click on the Move tool. It is the tool at the very top of the left sidebar. It looks like a plus sign with an arrow on each end. With the Move tool selected, you'll see a box around your image showing that you can move it around on your canvas. You can toggle the eyeball next to your background layer to display it again. You can see that the dancer on the original layer is still there, while your dancer on the new layer has moved a bit to the side. That's a kind of cool effect, but for our project, we want to move our dancer to a different photo altogether. Go ahead and turn off the eyeball next to your background layer just so you can see only the layer we'll be working with. Make sure you have your Move tool selected. Remember, that's the one on the top of the left sidebar with the 4 arrows. There are a couple of different ways to get our dancer to the other photo. One way is to click on our dancer and drag it over to the other tab with the photo of our dance floor. Another way is to go to Edit, Copy, or Control-C on a PC while you're here with your dancer selected. Then go to your other tab with the dance floor and click Edit, Paste, or Control-V on a PC. Now I have 2 layers here. I'm going to give them their own names. Double-click on the text of the layer name to change it. Now we are going to move and change the size of our dancer. In the Layers panel on the bottom right, click on your dancer layer, since that is the layer that we'll be making changes to. Before we make too many changes to the dancer image, we want to convert it to a smart object. This helps keep the image intact in case we make a mistake. Remember that if you do make a mistake, you can also always go to the Edit menu on the top menu bar and select Undo. To convert our dancer layer to a smart object, right-click on the layer in the bottom right Layers panel. Click Convert to Smart Object. You can see that it converted by this gray icon that now shows up on the layer in the Layers panel. Now we can use the Move tool to move and resize the dancer. You should have the dancer layer selected. You should also have the Move tool selected. Remember, the Move tool is the one on the top of the left-hand sidebar with the 4 arrows. Drag the corners of the box to change its size, or click somewhere inside the box and drag it around to move the dancer to a different location. Whenever you transform an object, which includes changing its size, you will need to click the check in the top bar to save your transformation. Play around with resizing and moving your dancer until it's in a location that you think is best. There are a lot of additional things we could do on Photoshop to make this dancer blend in better with the background. We aren't going to go through all of the options today, but I will show you how to add a drop shadow to your dancer. With your dancer layer selected, click the FX icon at the bottom of the Layers panel. Select Drop Shadow from the menu that appears. You will now see the Layer Style window. The Drop Shadow option is selected, and you have the option to change some of the drop shadow features, such as distance, opacity, and size. Opacity will make the shadow darker or lighter. Distance and size both affect where the shadow appears. I'm going to select some options and click OK. Then I'll move my dancer around a bit more to decide what I like best. Now that you have your dancer on the dance floor with the drop shadow, you'll want to save your file. Go to File, Save As. Notice that this is saving a PSD file. This is a Photoshop file that will only be able to be opened in Photoshop. We do want to save this so that you can make more changes later if you want to within Photoshop, but it's not going to be very useful in sharing your images with others. To share our image with others, we want to export the image as a JPEG. Go to File, Export As. The export window will appear. Make sure the file format has JPG or JPEG selected. Then click Export. Give your file a name and save it in a location of your choice. Now let's go find our exported JPEG. Open the location that you saved your exported file to. Here you can see that I have a folder that I saved both my PSD and my JPEG to. The PSD is not an image that can be previewed, while the JPEG is a standard image file that can be previewed and shared. Nice job! You've made it to the end of this tutorial. Now you know how to select an object from one image and place it onto a different background. Give it a drop shadow and export the image for sharing. Think of all the cool images you can now make in Photoshop with just these skills alone.